In Philippians 3:10-12, we find Paul's vision statement for life. And in that he says, that I may know him and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering, being conformed to his death. That I may know Jesus, not know about him, but have an experiential knowledge through a personal, intimate relationship with the maker of heaven and earth, that I may know him. And the power of his resurrection. We cannot experience resurrection unless we die. And so if there are parts inside of us that are not dead, that are not surrendered, we are not experiencing the full resurrective power of being awakened to the entire possibility and potential because we refuse to die. So are we kind of going through life 1/3 dead, 1/3 alive, and 1/3 paralyzed? We need to be dead in him in order to experience the sheer resurrective power of God and to be awakened fully to all that God has for us. And finally, the fellowship of his suffering. The word suffering is not popular to our modern mind, but actually it simply means subjecting our emotions and our time to be led by God. Think about it. Giving up the right to burst into a volley of emotions can be a very freeing experience. It may appear like we're suffering and it's painful for the moment, but we are definitely going to experience freedom. And allowing God to lead our time may appear inconvenient. This week, I felt God nudging me in the evening instead of browsing or listening to news or even watching a show, to just sit down and pick up this book and read. And in 2 days, I completed the book cover to cover, and I learned so much, and I just suddenly fell in love again with that habit of reading great autobiographical stories of women and men of God. That's what fellowship in his suffering looks like. It is simply meant to free us completely from any bondage that we might have. And when that happens, in verse 12, Paul says, not that I have attained. Can you imagine? Paul is writing this letter to the Philippians when he is imprisoned in Rome for the first time, 25 to 30 years after being in ministry, and he says, not that I have attained. Wow. But I press on to lay hold of everything that Christ has laid a hold of me for. What a vision, what a focus, what a destination, that I may know him. And the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering, so that I may lay hold of everything Christ has laid a hold of me for. Amen and amen.